Hello everybody, this is Zerda with Zerda MTG and I'm back at it again today with some more historic gameplay. So I'm gonna go ahead and run through with some budget mono blue flash again. Now I know I'm saying budget, this is still going to require some rares, I don't mean no budget. Still quite a few uncommons. I want to see real quick, does it show me the rarities? I'm pretty sure I've checked this before and it's no. Oh well, alas. Alright, so here we have as our rares, 1 Castle Vantris and 4 Sea Dasher Octopus. You can play without the Castle Vantris, but I find the first one is basically free because you won't ever keep a 1-lander anyway, it'll always come in untapped. And it's just kind of giving you icing on the cake. It's when you draw it, occasionally it will do something and be better than an island, and it will never be worse than an island. So it's just kind of a free upgrade. If you have it, you play it. If you don't worry about it. I think I've activated it twice ever. In both games I was already very, very far ahead, so it didn't much matter. Or I think I've activated it in a few games where it also didn't matter because I was so far behind. But if you're at parity, there's a good shot this will help you win. It'll help you dig if you don't have a Spectral Sailor, or even dig to a Spectral Sailor so you can start digging deeper. But honestly, it's just kind of here because there's no reason for it to not be. It's very easy to cut it though, so don't worry about it. The Sea Dasher, definitely play them. They're one of our 2 main card advantage engines. And having an engine to, start drawing as many cards as you possibly can is going to be a kind of big deal in this deck. It's something you've got to do if you want to get ahead. And, well, this is one of the best 2 ways to do it. The other being Curious Obsession, but that's not a rare, so we're going to go on to our only other card, our Mythic. So we're 5 rare, 4 Mythic. And Brazen Bar, another card I don't think you can play without having the split between a 3-1 Flash Flyer and a kind of, not unsummon, but what's it called, Dismiss? Not Dismiss either. Whichever you're going to call it, Disperse, Dispute. Anyway, basically just an unsummon, bounce a creature, bounce anything you could possibly want except for a land. It's not a boomerang, sadly. And lets you kind of keep up your tempo. So say that you have a Brineborn Cutthroat out, and your opponent deploys, say, a Jadelight Ranger. Well, that's going to outsize your creature, so you just put it back into their hand, grow your Brineborn, and get in. Later on, it can be a threat that you flash in, just, keep the damage going. Basically, just keep your opponent off balance for a while until your other threats can finish them off. Our other main threats being, because this is, in fact, one of them. One of our best damage dealers. The others are a little better. Fairy Vandal and Brineborn Cutthroat. Both uncommon. In fact, most of this deck is going to be uncommon. Is that uncommon? I don't know. No. Let's see. Yeah, most of this is definitely uncommon. So you're going to need quite a few of those wild cards, but hopefully you have them. Brineborn gets bigger whenever you cast a spell on your opponent's turn, and this is a flash deck, so that's basically all of them. Fairy Vandal gets bigger when you draw more than 1 card a turn. We do a lot of that. And unlike Brineborn, this one actually flies, so it's easier to get in with it, and just kind of ignore whatever your opponent's doing. It won't get as big as a Brineborn, but it doesn't need to because of that evasion. And I honestly think this is our better threat. It's just harder to get it going. When you do, though, it's always so much better. Just growing every turn for doing what you want to do anyway, without having to spend mana, and even if your hand is now empty. It doesn't force you to overcommit into a Wrath to kind of grow out. In fact, it forces your opponent to deal with your current board, which then you get to flash in after. So this is better at winning quickly. This is just better at playing a more conservative game, and at getting damage through blockers. Merfolk Trickster does all sorts of things, including kill all of those devotion creatures that have a toughness setting ability. So like a Daxos Blessed by the Sun will just die if you target it. Otherwise it taps things down on your opponent's end step to help you get in for damage. Very cool, very useful. Note, it will plink flyers out of the sky and then be able to block them. So do keep that in mind. Spectral Sailor, we use his ability quite a bit when games drag on, and it will really pull us quite far ahead. Think of this kind of as a 1-mana 1/1 that you primarily play because you need a 1-drop to put on Curious Obsessions and Sea Dashers in some games. But its secondary ability of being able to draw a card for 4 mana, well, if it's in the late game, you have 4 lands, you've traded out resources with your opponent a bit, you get into a board stall because you have a giant Brine board and Fairy Vandal, and they might have some other things that are stopping you from going on the offensive. Well, then you plop this down, and suddenly you're drawing 2 cards a turn, and you pull way far ahead very quickly. Unsummon, it's 1 mana interaction. We need more creature interaction that forces our opponent to actually spend their mana, so here we are. If we had a removal spell in blue, we'd be playing it, but this is as good as we get, so it's what we play. We're also playing Unsummon over any of the other variants, because I know there's a card that also can return enchantments. It is not as good. It does not bounce your own creatures like your Brazen Borrowers. Play Unsummon. Being able to bounce your own creatures is huge. If your opponent points a removal spell at your Sea Dasher Octopus, they would normally 2-for-1 you if they waited for it to resolve. Well, now you just get to unsummon, get your creatures back, and kind of think of it as, say, you have to pay the mana again, but you didn't lose your card advantage or your most important creatures. And Syncopate, just kind of the best 2-mana counterspell we have access to. Counters anything, creatures, non-creatures. Starting on turn 2, exiles them, which is huge in the case of a lot of creatures. Could include Cauldron Familiars drawn later, could involve a Kroxa or a Uro. So we play 3 Syncopate. I want to play the 4th, but I don't think the rest of our counter suite is... I think the rest of it is basically just as good, and I don't want to lose any kind of versatility there. The others being Negate, just counters a non-creature, very clean, straightforward, right to the point. Counter that Teferi, counter that Wrath, counter that removal spell. Just kind of counters things we need, always only costs 2 mana, which is pretty big once you hit the mid-game and your opponent starts to flood out, which is kind of prone to happening. This can drag games on. So we play 3 copies of Negate because it's always 2 mana and it is a hard counter. It's also 2 mana for cards that matter. And 3 Mystical Dispute because sometimes you want to still be able to deploy a creature and counter a Teferi in the same turn. Also, your opponent will have them if they're blue, and you need Mystical Disputes to fight Mystical Disputes. I have built a sideboard. It is a work in progress. I will not be doing best of 3 today until I've done a little more testing. Showing you this is kind of irresponsible because I'm pretty sure this isn't how it's going to pan out. I want to test out my creature deck matchups with these, control deck matchups with that. Red decks, green decks, you know, Gruul, it exists. I'm going to try out Soul Guide Lanterns, Spell Pierce because I think the card's amazing, and honestly I wish I could find a spot for it in the main, but Dispute has taken that spot for now. And yeah, that's the deck. So let's go ahead and see exactly how well we can do. See if we can finally leave Platinum, get back to Diamonds, so we can start reaching for Mythic. Gonna try and get there eventually. But Arena Cube Draft has been heating up all of my time, if I'm gonna be completely honest. That is just a way too fun format. Opponent first. I'm gonna keep, and I think this is gonna be a hand where unless my opponent does something crazy, there's something crazy, it's Gruul. I was gonna say I'll just hold on to the Brineborn until I can, or the Spectral Sailor until I deploy Brineborn. Another Pelt Collector. Yeah, I'm just, oh. Well then, yeah, I'm gonna hold it. I was gonna say I'm gonna, trade off my Spectral Sailor with the Pelt Collector there, but I was not given that option. Oh, I've got a bad feeling about this turn. Resolve all. Spellbreaker. Oh, this is not good. If this ends on a Gruul Spellbreaker, we are very, very much in... Oh, okay, it was only double Burning Tree. I don't know why we were worried. Our opponent only has a Terrifying. Not an unbeatable one. Nice. No, I am not attacking. Alright, so this turn will probably involve Brindborn Cutthroat and Unsummon. Oh, this is definitely going to involve a Brindborn Cutthroat and an Unsummon. Which is unfortunate because it means the Pulp Collectors will grow even further. Alright. Only Questing Beast? I was gonna say, don't get my hopes up here, opponent. Do I just actually... Instead I could trade off with the Questing Beast. Yeah, I think that's better, actually. Yeah. I think I'm just gonna trade off with the Questing Beast. Go ahead and get that out of the way now. Don't grow their Pelt Collectors any bigger than I need to. And again, I forgot they grow anyway, so... Joke is on me. Alright. Okay, good. So here we're going to unsummon. And Borrower bounce. And then eat a burning tree in combat. Alright. No Bone Crusher, please. I think they have a Bone Crusher. Even worse. No attacks. I suppose I should have attacked. I was debating on trading with a Pelt Collector. I think I'm gonna need to lean on this to draw extra cards at some point, though. Let's keep at least one of them at a reasonable size, being as small as possible. Yeah, I definitely should have attacked. I hope that doesn't come back to bite me. Activate in case I draw something that'll help me pull further ahead. Yeah, I'm not blocking with my 1/1 there. I don't think. I suppose I shouldn't have attacked with it, though. I'll try and trade off the Merfolk Trickster here. I'll bounce their Pelt Collector. I'll have Gallia discard itself. That way I don't have to deal with continued card advantage. Probably wrong to give my opponent the option. Spellbreaker. Not a good look for me. Any way out of this? Not without drawing cards. Okay, and I'm pretty sure we're out of this now. Maybe I traded off a little too aggressively earlier. In fact, I'm pretty sure I did. Looking back. This can't block anything anyway. there's no way out of this. I can bounce the Spellbreaker, it'll come back with haste and still be lethal. Alright, so going on to the next game and hoping to play against something other than Gruul. Play against enough Gruul as it is not exactly one of our better matchups. It's very, very play-draw dependent, and then it's still pretty dependent on us drawing a card advantage engine. I'll keep this. I like Brineborn with interaction. With luck, we draw a third land and get to hold up Dispute the turn after we cut Throat. If not, we have an Unsummon to save it if we need. This is definitely going to be a Brineborn-centric hand. By all means, treasure map. I currently plan on, before they can activate it the last time, Brazen Borrower bouncing the treasure map. At least if it looks like that's going to become a relevant problem. Treasure map? By all means, go for it. I'm actually debating now. Would I rather... let's see, 6, 8, 6, 12, 18. I like a 3-turn clock more than a 4-turn clock, but I think this will end up being a 3-turn clock anyway because of the Cutthroat growing. And I'd rather preserve the Brazen Borrower as long as possible. So if I get the opportunity here, I'll Brazen Borrower bounce that treasure map. Oh, opponent has conceded. Okay. That was a little hasty, but hey, we take those, I guess. Let's continue. We beat Mardu. Did something? I wonder why they conceded so quickly there. We were still a decent ways away from, you know, actually winning. We had to be careful about how we played because of removal. On the play, I'll keep this because of the Syncopate and Unsummons, but I'm not happy about it. Well, also because of the Sea Dasher, but in fact, primarily because of the Sea Dasher. We're just hoping to be able to do something with it. Okay. And really hoping to not have to Syncopate on turn 2. Alright, we don't. We are, however, concerned. Don't like seeing Diligent Excavator. That is a card that never does a single fair thing. And, that's a problem for us. In turn, we'll unsummon it after they play a spell. Which, yes, does give them a trigger, but also does this. Means that they don't have it in play.
This isn't a fight you can win.
Okay, so this might not be. Huh. So I can bounce the Teferi and attempt to counter it on the way down. I don't like that. So I'm going to instead double Trickster here. And I'll use Unsummon Borrower to force through damage. Really hope they don't take this opportunity to wrath us. Alright, so this is Kethis. It's good to know. Trickster at you. Trickster at you.
This is hardly
What's
my
up
worst
with
feat.
the art difference? Oh, am I playing them from two different sets? No? Huh. I have no idea. Oh no, that can resolve. I'll brazen bounce it. Also, that's a little more against. Whatever isn't blocked gets C-dashed onto. Try and make sure I continue to get my card advantage in here. As long as I can stop them from doing too much nonsense with Kethis, I should be good. Oh no, by all means, resolve your Kethis. And now we bounce the Kethis. Next, play an island. Bounce the Diligent. Get in there for another 4. And the opponent has seen enough. They know they need to draw an untap land and that we still have a lethal threat unless they double deploy, at which point we still probably get there. Also, we're holding up counter magic, and I think they just got a little too annoyed at that one. So, a little bit more of mono blue flash. As you can see, taking down a deck that's basically all rares and mythics with a bunch of commons and uncommons, with a few rares sprinkled in there. I guess we did use a few rares and mythics ourselves. Well, 1 rare, 2 mythics. But those are cards that they're just good enough that you should try and get them anyway if you ever plan on playing this kind of deck. And if you even plan on playing a blue deck, I recommend you get your Brazen Borrowers, so. You are building a collection by getting those cards. Just save up your wild cards and you'll be good. I'm gonna keep this one. I like the interaction, I like having a 1-drop threat as well as a ground board. And I really like the ability to drop a Curious Obsession on turn 2 if I feel the need. I don't think I'm feeling the need. I do, however, want a threat in case on turn 2 I want to interact, just so that I can get in a little more damage. If this can turn into a shock in the meantime. Alright, don't like that. I like my creature alive, thank you very much. Now, big debate here, and if I should have counted that or should have just deployed the Brine Board. I think Spectral Sailor is a good enough threat, though, that I am justified in saving it. And again, maybe I should have just let them have it. Tough call. I really trust its ability to, Elendra. Alright, go for it. Brineborn plus unsummon, I guess. Don't want to deal with that. There we go. Curious Obsession on 2. It's also because it's my only flying threat. And its ability is quite good. If I didn't have the dispute, I wouldn't have used any counters there, though. Dispute I shall. Keeping the board clear. And there you have it. People don't really like it when their first few plays all get countered or bounced. And hey, we're back at Diamond. It only took us a few games. Not even that long, really. Most of what I'm playing in ranked is actually in these videos. I do play a little outside, as you've seen my rank jump a little bit around, but I decided to keep it mostly to the videos. If I'm playing, I might as well play for the camera. I'm also, as you may have noticed from my earlier videos, getting a little bit better at playing on camera. Although I think my overall skill level has dropped since paper stopped being a thing for me. But hey, definitely learning these formats at least. Oh, I really like this hand. Grindborn negates a card draw engine. Oh, this one's gonna be brutal if it's a good matchup for this kind of a hand. If negate is good, this hand is not even remotely reasonable. Oh, I don't think this is this kind of matchup. Oh no. Okay, I don't actually think these negates are good anymore. And because of that, I think this is going to be a nightmare matchup for us. Ooh, we're in trouble. Dreadhorde Butcher had to die because it would just outsize us and kill our stuff. Can't stop it. Time to do what I just said we couldn't do. Attempt to outsize the Dreadhorde Butcher. Plop an Obsession on there. Go to town. Alright, there we go. Borrower's gonna be pretty important here. Priest of the Forgotten Gods, we couldn't stop even though we really wanted to. Deploy another Cutthroat. I supremely doubt they're gonna be interacting with creatures at all. If they block one of our Brineborns, we'll be more than happy. Oh, please trade. Thank you so much. That priest was going to be a much bigger problem than you realized, opponent. How about, we just kind of outsize you? Kindling Phoenix? No, by all means, go for it. Why, just don't mind if I get in for more damage than you're ready to deal with. Look at me. Mono blue is the aggro deck now. Draw a card. Draw a card. Alright, one of those was good. Two of them was, not so much, but so be it. Still have negates open for any kind of nonsense to try and pull. Oh no, by all means, do something. Okay, so. Let me see. I wish I could both Brazen and, I think this is just lethal, right? I deploy the Cutthroat, I bounce any creature, and they lose. Yep. Or obviously return this really good, though. Nope, you can't stop at all. And there you go. I do think Dreadhorde Butcher was a big problem for us until we drew multiple ways to interact with it. So, kudos to us. And what's happening in the next game? Mono Blue Flash is happening, of course. Let's see just how good we can get with it. See if we can manage to make Mythic playing only Historic. In my opinion, the current best Magic format. And yes, I do play Legacy. Not well, as you may have seen. And I mean even when you're playing Delver. I don't much like the combo matchups as much. Alright, opponent goes first. So if I draw any 1-drop, this hand gets pretty good. If I don't, it's medium. But I'm gonna trust in the power of our card advantage draw. Oh. Uh-oh. Shouldn't have trusted in the power of our card advantage draw. This is not going to be a card advantage matchup. Alright. Maximum punished. Ooh, I could really, really use a way to deal with this. Or at least stop it from getting worse. Wish I could have drawn a Brazen there to bounce that. Daxos blessed by the sun? How about Daxos countered by Syncopate? So next turn, I think I'm gonna have to do the unthinkable and deploy a Sea Dasher and put a Curious Obsession on it. Unless they deploy something. Nope, that's fine. I was gonna say unless they deploy something that absolutely has to be countered. Alright. Here's my 3-mana 2/2 opponent. Tremble and Fear. I have to imagine this is a... Oh. Well then. Whew. Okay. We're getting there. That is fine. We'll unsummon that. Let's be real about this. We kind of need that to not be in play. And by kind of, I mean really. We are Curious Obsessioning up our Sea Dasher Octopus. I was tempted to Sea Dash onto the Sea Dasher, but I don't think that's going to be the best use of what we've got right now. There we go. Okay, Fairy Vandal, very good draw. Whew. Well, that's terrifying. But you know what else it is? Something that we can bounce. Opponent, I believe, is going to swing all in. Uh-oh, they didn't. Alright. Yep, goes by 2. Really hoping they blindly swing both Hawks in. Can't imagine they knew of Fairy Vandal. Sea Dasher on 2. An island. Swing out. Oh, that has reach? Oh no. Okay. Duh. I don't know why I was thinking the other one was flying. I guess it's just force of habit. Okay. Yeah, I think drawing the maximum number of cards here is going to be the most important thing we can do. We still get to chump the Gideon's Company. I don't think drawing 1 card extra a turn here, ironically, is going to be good enough. As good as I think it is. Well. If that ain't the truth on it not being good enough, I don't know what is. Oh, there comes another one. See how they swing. I'll block. And I'll bounce their New Gideon's Company so that I can keep drawing. I am amazed they let that go through. Really just sacrificed the Soul Warden at this point. Okay. Go ahead and deploy this turn, Grindborn. Gideon's Company gets absolutely massive. Holy cow. There you go, opponent. Mutate onto that. Over. Swing, swing. No reason to lose our grounder. Wait, not you. Swing, swing, swing. There we go. Draw 2 cards. Not as many as we'd like, obviously, but hey. We'll take it. Play land and end of the turn. So this is really just showcasing the power of how many cards we can draw. So glad I learned that that was just, didn't attack with a creature and didn't attack with this creature. Resolves. Pretty sure we've got game here. Regardless of how much life our opponent wants to try and gain. Trickster, tap down that one. Resolve all. So to avoid +1/+1 counters going everywhere, at least on my opponent's side of the field, I'm going to finish deploying now. And unless I'm insane, this looks pretty lethal. Right? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, no. Pretty sure that's lethal. They can block a 7 and then take Exaxes. Yeah, 16. And there you have it. Drawing a bunch of cards a turn is better than creatures that are merely insanely big. That was actually a really fun game. I enjoyed that one quite a bit. Woohoo, Depose Deploy. If I play Tempered Steel, that's definitely a card I'll want. I think I already had 4 though. And let's get in what I believe will be one of the last games today. Yep, because after this I've got some other stuff I need to do. So, here is the last one of the day. Playing against Cole, who is a higher diamond rank than I. On the play, if I had a 1-drop creature, this hand would be good enough, because I could Curious Obsession to try and draw the second land, have an Unsummon to catch back up, and on the play it's not as punishing. As this stands, I'm really counting on that 2-drop creature, or the second land drop, and I just can't do that. I'll keep this one. I'll get rid of the Unsummon, because I have the... I'll get rid of the island. At some point I'll draw more lands, and 2 is plenty enough to start this off. I just need a card draw engine. Well, ask and ye shall receive. Let's see if I can eat the Sarah Ascendant with my Fairy Vandal. Be pretty happy if I could do that. Hard cast Giant Killer. Alright. That's actually annoying. Nope. Opponent was too smart for our shenanigans. Curious up the Fairy Vandal. Probably going to have to, in order to keep the Curious Obsession around, unsummon their Giant Killer. Which would be, is it an instant? It is. But we'd have the negate open for it, so we've just got to be careful here. We want to keep that Curious Obsession up. Pridemate, by all means. Right, they don't have the mana to use Giant Killer, so I suppose I'll be happy. And instead unsummon their Pridemate here. Yeah, that is 2 mana, just making sure I'm not crazy. Hope to draw land here. Oof. Alright, that'll have to do, I suppose. Heliod? Absolutely not. And here we'll take 3. We aren't winning yet, but we can be very soon. We just need a land. I think it was still right to pitch the land. I'm just regretting that it's not panning out. I'll have to Trickster down the Giant Killer this turn. Because we need to keep that Fairy Vandal alive. And more importantly, we need to keep the Curious Obsession on it alive. Shame that that's an instant adventure. Nothing we can do about Heliod now. Oy. Alright, so that's good. We get to stop them from gaining life here. Lose ability. Eat creature. As much as I'd like to take down the Giant Killer, I'd rather prevent the Heliod from going overboard first. There we go. Absolutely take action. And end the turn. Opponent is playing very carefully here. Let's see, if I let the Linden resolve, I can just bounce the Heliod and deploy a Spectral. Yeah. This Heliod is the real problem. I don't care if you just gain 2 life here. You've already played a land, so I don't care about Giant Killer quite yet. No, by all means, gain as much life as you want. As long as you don't have a payoff out, I am perfectly content to watch it. Ooh, that was a mistake. Oops. So I lose the Trickster here for absolutely zero reason. And the pause there let my opponent know it was not some fancy trick. I was just getting impatient. Alright, so here. We have Mystical Dispute for any of their big problems. We have Merfolk Trickster. Ranger of Eos, once again, I don't really care. I think I might Trickster down the Linden. And then deploy a Brineborn. Well, sorry, deploy Brineborn Cutthroat, Trickster down the Linden. I see, that's annoying. The Onan Vanguard is, at least. So, let's see, if I go Brineborn, Fairy Vandal instead. No matter what, I'm going to Brineborn here. And the Spectral to make it 1 more damage. The Trickster can tap down the Ascendant as well. Trying to determine what I want to Trickster down. I should have played the Fairy Vandal. That was a mistake. That's 1, 2, 3. That's 1, 2, 3. Tapping down Linden prevents 1, 2, 3. Tapping down Sarah Ascendant prevents 1, 2, 3. Tapping down Sarah Ascendant also makes it harder for them to gain enough life on defense. Yes, that was definitely a misplay on my part again. Let's see. Killing the Linden does in fact weaken their position, but it weakens my long-term position. I have 9 damage on board. No blocks. Opponent's tapped out and I have lethal. Does that have to go to 8, 9? Alright, I didn't get punished, although I very much should have. Does not matter. But yeah, if instead of focusing on drawing the Brineborn, I'd actually given it some thought and deployed the Fairy Vandal, this would have been just a little bit smoother here. That was another really, really close game. I'm glad our misplay didn't matter too much, because I think other than that, we played that one pretty well. And in any case, there is Mono Blue Flash. We got a few free wins just from opponents who don't like seeing counterspells. And just one more time to give you a quick overview of the deck. We have a 20 land mana base, 9 counterspells, 3 Syncopate, 3 Negate, 3 Mystical Dispute, some Sea Dashers and Curious Obsessions for our main card draw, Spectral Sailors for other, creature interaction of Unsummoned Trickster, Brineborn, or Brazen Borrower, big threats of Brazen Borrower, Brineborn, Fairy Vandal, and little roadblocks of Trickster and Sailor to get in little bits of chip damage every so often. Alright, so that was the match. Please do remember to like, comment, subscribe if you liked the content. And please remember to have a nice day. After all, this is quite a marvelous hobby, and be a shame if you let your opponent, countering absolutely everything you did, drawing 5 cards a turn, and having a creature that's just, you know, a 2-mana 8/8, or sorry, 8/7, ruin your day. Anyway, that's all for me.